To set the project preferences, go to Project, Preferences. The tolerances allow the user to set the accuracy levels that the model will be built to. The linear stroking will interpolate additional elevations along linear elements at the interval prescribed. Curve stroking will provide a similar type of situation for curve elements. The corning stroking option provides for changes of direction at the external edges of the site object and determines the number of radials that will be projected to the existing surface to create the side slopes at those changes of direction. B-spline plan stroking strokes B-spline elements in a plan situation using the same methodology as used for the curve stroking. B-spline profile stroking will stroke the profiles created in the Edit Profile tool to determine the number of vertices returned to the plan view graphics and therefore to the site model. The maximum triangle length is the maximum external triangle length applied to any specific object. The elevation decimals sets the number of decimal places that will be returned when an inquiry is done on the site project. The project component setting is an optional setting that allows the user to stipulate which Design and Computation Manager, the DDB file, will be used when creating site elements. Visualization has a number of settings. It allows the user to stipulate if the object or the model will be continuously viewed, allows the user to snap to the display of the model and or the object. The contour smoothing provides three options. None, which is quite obvious, we do not do any smoothing, we just create the contours from triangle edge to triangle edge. 3 point, where we provide a simple curve at the intersection of each of the contour lines, and B-spline, where we do a complex calculation including all points across the surface. This takes considerable processing power and should not be used during the design phase. Construction elements. Construction elements are site elements that have been created that are not added to an object. They preside in the project and their symbology will be overwritten with the symbology set with what you can see here on the visualization dialog. This is to make them stand out so that the user knows they are not currently in an object. The model visualization sets the visualization that will be applied to any new model that is created. Objects. The site modeler program is supplied with a number of predefined objects. These are fully customizable. The user can modify, remove or add object types as they see fit. When a new object is created within the site model, the user gets to select from this object type list to create the model. To create a new object type, you just key in the name, give it a naming prefix, and then add that type to the list. Once the new object type has been added to the list, we can modify the visualization settings for that particular object type, possibly turn on the triangles or change the contour interval settings. We can allocate slope indicators to that object type, or we can modify the standard or the default slope settings. For example, they're currently set to 3:1 in cut and fill situations. We could change the cut situation to 4:1, click modify, a dialog will come up and say we've modified the slopes. Do you want to modify the existing objects of that type that are already in the project? Click yes, and click yes to change the visualization for that, and the object type has now been updated. Updating. Auto update model is activated by default. This automatically updates the site model every time a new element is added. If you're adding a lot of elements to a large data set, there is the option to toggle off the auto update model to speed up the process of element addition. To manually update the model, you would go to Model, Edit, Process. That would manually update the model. Element association is on by default. It can globally be turned off at this location. The working boundary definition provides the user with the option to calculate the surface or the model only in a prescribed area. This speeds up the process of the calculations or the triangulation, but does exclude the other areas from any volume calculations. So be aware that to come back and do a complete volume on the entire site, you would need to deactivate the clip model on working boundary option. Save options are quite typical type Windows save options, where we can create an automatic backup at the startup of your project. So when you open the project, it automatically backs it up, and we can do an auto save at intervals. The file options are typical Windows type file options, where you have the ability to save that preference file that we just created off as a file name. In this case, we'll call it Project Preferences. The file extension is SPF, and those preferences can be recalled at any time to populate a new project. Click OK to apply those preferences to the current project.